brings it back out to the 28. He's tackled there by Terry Orr. So the Broncos get it again. 6:18 to go in the first quarter. Denver on top. 10-0 in Super Bowl 22.
Okay.
The Denver Broncos trying to win the Super Bowl for the first time ever in their third appearance, having lost to Dallas 10 years ago, to the Giants in Pasadena last year, and here they are with their third possession on top by a score of 10-0.
Well, Dan Reeves was true to his word. Remember when he told us they were going to come right out 1st and 10 and go right to the shotgun, and that's the look they played more than anything else against the Bears earlier this year in our Monday night game. And now the Skins have seen it in the first couple of series, and now John Elway's back under center.
From the 28-yard line. Lang, big hole, takes it out to the 40-yard line. Gene Lang tripped up by Alvin Walton, and he's close to having a first down, and does have it at the 39.
Everyone accuses the Broncos of not having a running game. They do have a running game. They just don't have the celebrated runners. 156 yards in the championship game against Cleveland. By the way, the last tape the Redskins watched, they're down 10-0. They watched the Broncos go down 21-3 at the half of that game, and they were also down 14-0 in the Bears. So this is far from even being close to being decided.
1st and 10, Broncos from their own 39-yard line. Lang again cuts it back, and Lang has another first down as he takes it across the 50 to the 48. Bowles and Coleman in on the tackle. So Denver had been doing it in the air and now doing it on the ground.
You have to wonder where the Redskin defensive team is. We've got a flag down on the field.
And Coleman down as well. Monty Coleman is hurt.
Actually, we're going to have a timeout. The clock is stopped as again we'll look at Gene Lang, and this is just a lack of pursuit by Washington. A good look at Dave Butts, who over pursued the play, and Gene Lang able to make the cut, and it looks like a lot of the Redskins defensively are having trouble following the Bronco running backs and receivers. They have changed cleats. They've gone to a longer cleat, and Gene Lang that time able to make the cut and left a lot of Redskins behind.
Monty Coleman, of course, a key member of the defensive secondary, as well as a good linebacker, a good man to have in there for anyone coming out of the backfield.
He's a very important man to have in, because so much has been made of the way Washington moves people in and out defensively. Here's one of the guys who's in on almost every play in every situation.
Good pass defender. He looks like he's all right. Probably just had the wind knocked out of him. But Dan, I know you have to be shocked and appalled, if you will, at the way the Denver Broncos offensive line is dominating the Redskins defensive line.
Well, look at the way Denver is approaching this thing offensively. I mean, the first couple of series, it's all shotgun. They get Washington back on their heels, and now they come out and go to a conventional offensive formation. Nothing fancy, slamming it in between the tackles, and now Washington has made the adjustment the other way. 17.5 yards on first down. That'll win you a ball game or two.
A 56-yard pass does help that figure a little bit, doesn't it?
Now Washington needs a play to pad their average a little bit. Less than 2 yards. Not worth much.
First down. Denver, now they go back to the shotgun, which became their base formation in the Chicago game in November. Elway stepping up, rifles it too high, intended for Natil.
But Natil has made a believer out of Wilburn. Wilburn laying way off. Now watch Manley again. And Dan's been talking about it. Number 70 is Dave Studdard. This time Manley at least penetrates a little bit. Studdard has been handling throughout the game, however.
Well, Studdard that time had a nice handful of jersey on Dexter, but it's not the kind of holding that's impeding his progress. You'll rarely see the flag thrown on something like that, but Dexter Manley hasn't surfaced as a factor so far in this ballgame.
Shotgun, and with Elway out of the shotgun, he has Sewell and Bodie with him, and Sewell takes a little shovel to the 30-yard line.
Oh boy, what a great time to call that play. Dexter Manley all fired up. He turns on a full afterburner, sprinted across the line of scrimmage and threw the ball right inside on a shovel pass.
Well, here's what's beautiful. Here's Dexter Manley. Watch him go upfield. The Broncos don't even block him. Here comes the shovel pass inside Manley, but Dexter's never even blocked. Just let the guy go upfield, takes himself out of the ball play. I mean, out of the play, and it just happens all by itself.
He had to think, I'm going to wipe out Elway. It was an absolutely perfect call. Playing not only against the physical part of Manley, but against his head.
And if you're Manley right now, your head's spinning. You're thoroughly confused.
And timeout is called. Coleman has come back in the game for Washington. That outside backer, and as Elway looks it over on first down from the 30, he'll take a timeout. That little shovel is a completed forward pass. So John, up and over the 100-yard mark here in the first period, with still 4:20 to play in the quarter.
And I think the defensive team of the Redskins all breathed a collective sigh of relief when Elway did call a timeout. If anybody needs some time to compose themselves, it's the Skins.
But Washington has been there before, very recently, down 14-0 to Chicago at Chicago. A reminder, next Sunday, a week from today, Calgary.
Of those snouts may go into hiding if Washington doesn't pick it up here a little bit. Those things will be selling for a severe discount after the ball game if Washington's defense isn't able to dig itself in right here and make a stand.
First down, Denver at the 30-yard line. Shula lines up as the running back in this set. Jackson comes in motion. Fake pitch to Shula. Elway slipping and sliding and incomplete, intended for Kay, but he was able to buy time, avoid the rush. Still incomplete though at second down.
Denver is not doing anything they're supposed to be doing. That time it was going to be a pass all the way back across the field to Sewell. Now, top of your screen, we've been talking about Manley. Here's Charles Mann. He is totally befuddled.
And remember, we told you how more often than not when John moves, he moves in the direction of Charles Mann. And look at the job that Kenny Lanier did that time working against Charlie Mann. Okay, granted, he gets in on that play late, but it's all over by then. Good job that time by Ken Lanier.
Mann in that game last year, sacking Elway 3 times. The only player to ever do that in one game.
That was last year.
And won by Denver, 31-30.
Second and 10. Elway again gets good protection, and the pass is picked off by Wilburn at the 18-yard line, but no, they say incomplete.
What?
Incomplete.
I was going to say, that sure looked like a trap from here. Again, John Elway, and you know, that's the second time we've seen it recently where he's overthrown his guy. That time going for Sewell, and he really let loose with that baby. That thing left a vapor trail.
Missed Sewell earlier, missed Natil. Let's take a look again. Here's Sewell coming across. He was wide open, and Walton is trying to stay with him, but you don't see Elway overthrow a man like that. And there is the trap downfield. They bring up third and long.
Third down and 10. 3 receivers split to the right, 1 to the left. And Natil in motion. Third and 10. Elway takes a 17-yard drop and a big sack. Alvin Walton, the safety man, sacks him back at the 49-yard line.
And that was a relatively lucky sack by Alvin Walton, who starts clear on the line of scrimmage, clear to the opposite side of the play. Frank, he was lost in there.
I wouldn't call him a spy, would you?
No, I wouldn't call it. Look at Alvin Walton
around and found him.
Look at him moving there. I don't think he even knows where John Elway is. He'll move clear to the outside, and in essence, Elway gets flushed out by Mann and runs right into Alvin Walton. But that's the play that the Redskin defensive team had to come up with. Boy, did they need that.
18-yard sack. Mike Horan cornering it and putting it out of bounds near the 15-yard line. They'll line it up. And they'll mark it at the 16-yard line, which
That's
is very familiar territory for Washington. It's the 4th time they've begun a drive from just about the same spot.
Fine punt, and Washington deep in their own territory once again. And there is Walton. He is one of the big hitters. And Richie Pettibone, the defensive coordinator of the Redskins, told us the other day he would like to see Alvin Walton get a few shots at John Elway because he's one of your basic big hitters.
So Washington from the 16-yard line. A reminder, a special preview, The Wonder Years coming up. A special new comedy on ABC after the game. From the 16-yard line, that's Clint Gideon, who splits wide left and Warren in motion. And the pass is caught by Sanders, and Ricky takes it out to the 24-yard line. Shy of the first down by about 2 or 3. Ryan and Haynes in on the stop as Richie Pettibone talks it over with his defense.
Kind of a change of pace for Washington there, with it being the tight end Warren in motion rather than Clint Didier. Normally Didier is the move guy, but that's the way I think they've got to get offensively here. Conservative, do it 6, 7, 8 yards at a time.
Second down and 2 from just inside the 25. Smith, 30, 40, and the rookie takes it to the 50-yard line, dragged down by Lilly. And so Rodgers is on the bench, and Smith, who gained more yardage in 2 postseason games than through all of the regular season, will see that nullified by a penalty. A 25-yard gain going down the drain.
That really hurts. That would have put some life back into that Redskins offense. Holding. Number 85, offense, second down.
Well, Don Warren, the tight end who was at the point of attack, the play came right in behind him, the guy that got flagged for the penalty. And as Frank said, boy, that talk about sticking a pin in a balloon, that'll deflate you in a hurry.
Don Warren, one of the fine blockers on this Redskins unit. There he is, top of the screen.
Here's Don Warren right here. Let's watch his block at the line of scrimmage and see if we can pick it up. It's on initially. He comes down on the linebacker, and you can see the left hand. Got that left arm hooked, and that'll bring the call every time from the sideline.
Makes it 2nd and 11 now from the 15-yard line. And dropped again. This time by Sanders. Clark has already dropped a couple as well. Skins would have had it first down at the 50. Instead, 3rd and 12 at the 15.
George Rodgers has been really beaten up this year. Dislocated toe earlier in the year, separated shoulder, groin injury, and an ankle injury in the championship game against Minnesota. We thought we might see a little bit of him on short yardage, but so far it's been all Timmy Smith.
And right now, Kelvin Bryant on 3rd and long, 3rd and a dozen from the 15. Three-man rush and a lot of time, and then over the middle is Bryant, wide open, has the first down, takes it out to the 35-yard line. So the Broncos sent only 3, and then Bryant hanging around near the line and got 3 over the middle, first down.
3 wide receivers for the Redskins, and it was Doug Williams looking deep downfield, and it was Bryant with no blitz, just slipping out of the backfield after he had looked to make sure nobody was coming, and he was just standing there right in the face of Doug Williams when he needed it. Here's Williams looking to go deep. Nothing over there. Looks over here. There's Bryant right in his face where he should be.
To the 35 he goes, and on 1st and 10. Slipping down is Williams, and he gets sacked at the 24-yard line. Play whistle dead, and he's hurt.
He might be hurt.
Up.
Did you see him twist his leg when he went down? And Doug Williams has got to have a sore leg. Boy, did he have his one leg in there at an awkward angle.
Just slipped on his own. We've seen a lot of that now. Dexter Manley earlier in the game was slipping. The field must be extraordinarily soft because the Redskins defensive unit, as we told you, went back and changed to larger cleats, and now we have just seen Doug Williams slip and go down, and Jay Schrader's going to come in.
So here comes Schrader. The timeout is called, and Williams is back down on the turf.
Did you see him drop back to pass? He took a funny little glide step. Here, let's take a good look at it from the reverse angle. Now watch it. He goes to plant, and you get just a perfect view of it. his right foot on the instep just slid all the way out from underneath him. And Frank, more often than not, that's where a guy pulls a groin, when that right leg, again from behind. Watch him go to plant his right foot.
Cleats never grabbed at all. You can see it, the right foot going right there. No grip at all. That could be a hamstring. It could be a knee. We won't speculate. They look at him right now. But he really stretched out that right leg.
Let's look at that again. What about, nobody touched him and the ball came flying out of it. Guys, can we take another look at that thing? Let's watch this again. I'm so intent on looking at his leg. Let's watch the football. I mean, this isn't.
He's down, but had anyone touched him?
He wasn't down by contact.
No,
this isn't college football.
That was a free football.
This isn't college ball. He's got to be down by contact. Doug Williams kind of spit that ball out, and that's a free ball.
Yeah, I think they got caught up in the concern over Doug Williams, and
now let's see.
The ball is loose there. There's no contact been made. That ball is loose. Rulon Jones has it.
I have sympathy for an injured player, but Doug Williams just laid the ball down, and that's another break for the Redskins.
Well, they get one bad break and one good break. Williams out, Schrader in, second down and 20 from the 24-yard line. So the once and future Redskin quarterback gets sacked himself back at the 15-yard line by Mecklenburg.
The Rover.
Did you see him? He looked like Edwin Moses. Now that's the way you hurdle a blocker.
What the Broncos love to do. They put him on the outside, put Ryan on the inside, and turn him loose.
I want you to watch Carl Mecklenburg. Let's roll this tape, guys, if we could. Watch the top of the screen. He's going to take a jump from right up at the top. There's Carl. He's coming into the picture now. Kelvin Bryant goes too low, and that's Edwin Moses, if you ask me.
And winning another one.
The high hurdles. Third down and 28. At the 17-yard line. Schrader, three-man rush, dumps it over the middle, dropped by Bryant. A fourth drop pass. So for Washington, a series on which it looked like they got to midfield, but a penalty brought it back. They lose Williams. They're pinned deep in their own territory, and now will have to kick again. And with 41 seconds to play in the quarter, they're down 10-0.
Usually very sure-handed. Kelvin Bryant over the middle again. Schrader looking deep again. Bryant just a checkoff man. Had yards. He might have been able to pick up the first down. Takes his eyes off it. Drops the football, and the Redskins will have to punt.
Cox to kick again. Already 4 punts in the quarter. Clark to receive. Bostic snap is a good one. Kick is a short one, but takes a good bounce for Washington and is down at about the 40-yard line. Meanwhile, Williams up and walking around, trying to work it out. The replay booth is saying when Williams dropped to his knee at that particular point on that play in which we talked about, was it or was it not a fumble, he was, in essence, according to the rules, giving himself up, and the play was over. That's the way it's interpreted by them.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll buy that, I guess.
What page is that on?
I'm going to look that one up.
Shotgun, Denver, 44-yard line. Elway going out of bounds. The intended receiver was Sammy Winder. Penalty marker down.
And we may get a roughing the passer call against Washington. John Elway went down late.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 52 defense. 15 yards, automatic first down.
Okowitz on the blitz.
Yeah, Neal came late. He was clear on the play. And this time right up the middle, Neal Okowitz. And remember how they changed the rule this year, Frank? You don't get 2 steps at the quarterback anymore. You only get 1.
And this was awful close. Elway delivering the ball. And there it is. Okowitz, who is in full stride. You see that in slow motion. I don't know about that.
Oh, I think that's roughing all the way. That's a good call. I mean, he's not even in the picture.
Looking at it in slow motion it is, but you see it in full speed. Could he have pulled up? Maybe he could have pulled up and eased up on it a little.
Okowitz isn't that fast.
He was there.
Denver at the 41-yard line. First quarter winding down, 26 seconds to play in the period. Broncos on top 10-0. First and 10. Winder, Grant and others in on the tackle. Grant and Olkowitz leading the charge. And that should be the final play of the period. The report from the bench, a hyper-flexed knee is the report we get from the Washington bench on Williams, but he is expected back next series as soon as they get the ball back. As the first quarter comes to an end here in San Diego at Super Bowl 22, Denver leads 10-0, and we'll be back after this. As we begin the second quarter, this ABC Sports exclusive is being brought to you by Pepsi. With all that great taste and refreshment, it's no surprise that Pepsi is the choice of a new generation. And by New York Life to help you get the most out of life. Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Dierdorf. Second quarter, Super Bowl 22. Doug Williams expected back in the next time Washington has the football. But for right now, as we start the second quarter, second and 10, Broncos out of the shotgun from the Washington 42-yard line. Lang and Sewell in the backfield with Elway. Sewell goes out into the pattern. And the pass is incomplete, intended for Ricky Nattillo, covered by Darrell Green. Broncos coming out, scoring on their first play, adding a field goal, and there are the numbers through the first period.
You look at the total yards for Denver, 142 yards. You add that up by 4 times, and you come up with an amazing offensive afternoon.
Keep Steve Hurt busy down there. The computer's smoking.
What happened to this feeling out process that's supposed to take place in a Super Bowl game?
This man has changed the name of that.
Knockout punch. Third down and 10. At the 42, Washington showing blitz. But everything is picked up, and they wind up sending only 4, and Elway.
Well, hey, Al, that's a free play for Denver, too, because Charlie Mann was offsides on the play. I saw an official on the sideline flip his flag, and I think that's a free play for Denver. I don't think that sack's going to count.
Against the Skins.
I think Charles Mann's the guy.
You saw a quick look at Alvin Walton, who Richie Pettibone said is his big hitter on that team.
Offside, number 71, defense, third down.
Got to be a little frustrated, man and Manley, and that's probably what happened here. Off the line of scrimmage, they have been so far a non-factor in this game on both sides.
Remember when we talked to Dexter a couple days ago? He told us his biggest worry was about John Elway's hard count. How loud he was on his snap count, and right there a good illustration of how it got Charles Mann to come off sides. John's very loud in calling his signal.
Third down and 5 from the 37. Little shovel to Bodie, loose ball and incomplete. Dexter Manley popping him, so a little shovel which worked earlier with Sewell doesn't work here. Bodie dropping it. Tony Bodie released on several occasions by Denver, back with him.
A little different play that time on the part of Mann over on the left side. Also on the part of the linebacker on that left side, Kaufman. They did not go for any kind of a sweep to the outside, the shovel inside, and they had the whole thing jammed up.
Green drops back deep along with Eric Yarber. So Washington drops 2 back. Mike Horan standing at the 50-yard line. And he'll try to angle it to the far side. And does. And into the end zone. A little too far. So back it comes to the 20 with 14-17 to play in the half. Broncos on top, 10-0. Back at the helm at the 20-yard line. his team down 10-0. But John Elway, the story of the first quarter, the other quarterback.
Very first play, touchdown shot, 56 yards to Ricky Nattiel. A lot of protection for Elway. Right in stride, Nattiel taking it in. He's been busy, Dan.
He has, and I think John Elway has been getting a lot more help from his teammates than Doug Williams has been getting from his Redskin teammates.
It's a little later on, the handoff. He turns into a receiver wide open and takes it deep into Redskin territory again. Try to draw a little later on. He's been busy. They're very busy.
So the Broncos show the whole playbook in the first quarter. Lead 10-0. And Washington now at the 20-yard line. Their first possession of the second period. And Williams going deep. Sanders beats Haynes. Sanders out in front. 80 yards. Touchdown.
Hello, sports fans.
Whoa. Doug Williams right on stride with Sanders.
And that is nothing more than bump and run coverage that time by Mark Haynes on Ricky Sanders, and he got smoked.
Mark Haynes playing him tough right up front. Mark Haynes, who we talked about earlier, has played superb football over the past few games. Let Sanders get by him, and it is goodbye. And how quickly you can get back into a football game. Great shot by Doug Williams on his very first play after going out with that injury. Hit him right in stride.
Ali Haji Sheikh for the extra point. 53 seconds into the second quarter. Schrader puts it down. And just a few minutes ago, Washington down by 10. Williams out of the game, punting from deep in their own territory. Now it's 10-7.
Off the bench, Doug Williams out for a couple of plays, and Ricky Sanders does a number on Mark Haynes, and Williams is perfect. And if you like a good football game, boy, did we need this. 10-7. We'll be right back.
With a big fizzle, he was 0-5 in his first 5 games as the Redskins head coach in '81. But since, a whole other story. And Dan Reeves, who has watched his team break out to a 10-0 advantage, but now on an 80-yard pass play, it's 10-7. And Washington, the kickoff, Cox puts it in the air. Ken Bell takes it in the end zone. He'll come out 10 and banged down at the 17-yard line. Hit by Dean Hamill.
Let's look at that touchdown at the line of scrimmage. Watch Mark Haynes with the left hand. Hey, the first thing they tell you in this game, if you're going to take a shot at somebody, you better hit him. That time Haynes went for Sanders with the left hand and missed him, barely grazed him.
Meanwhile, that ties a Super Bowl record because in New Orleans in 1980 it was Jim Plunkett going back to pass, moving to his left, finding Kenny King down the sideline in Super Bowl 15 as the Raiders then in Oakland went on to beat Philadelphia. So a record tie here, and on first down, moving straight ahead is Gene Lang out to the 21-yard line for a pickup of 3. Second and 7 coming up as Lang comes out of the game and Sewell replaces him. 13:30, and that camera mounted on the goalpost, giving you that look. There it is. Second and 7 from the 21-yard line. Sewell in motion. Pressure put on by Manley and off Winder's hands. And Manley very much made his presence felt on that one.
Boy, and did he just blow around the left tackle, Dave Studdard. And he also finished that play smart, Frank, by not hitting John Elway. Here's Dexter Manley at the top of the screen working on Studdard. Watch him go right around him. Dexter at the top coming in, and for some reason Dave Studdard never even got out of his stance. But here's a smart play by Dexter, pulling up and not laying a hard hand on John Elway.
Think he wanted to?
You know he did, and that's a smart football play.
On 3rd and 7, Elway has thrown 5 incompletions in a row now. He's 4 of 11 in the game. And he slings one and is lucky it wasn't picked off by Monty Coleman.
That's a bullet there. He did not even see Monty Coleman coming across from his right linebacking position, trying to get the ball downfield to Winder. Look again now. Elway following the receiver, Sewell, across the middle. Does not see Coleman. There's Coleman. And ever so close to the interception. Now the Broncos will have to punt. The Redskins should get the field position.
Mike Horan to do the booting, and Darrell Green stands back at his own 37-yard line.
You sense a subtle change here?
Absolutely.
Not so subtle.
Green, having trouble, makes the catch. And then gets buried at the 36. He was looking at the sideline to see where he was. It was fortunate to hold on to the ball. Tackled by Bell. 12:59 remaining in the half. For Super Bowl 22 in the preferred parking area. And that view provided by the Goodyear Blimp. Captained by Nick Nicolari from El Toro, California. And the Goodyear Blimp has hovered above just about every Super Bowl. A little difficult, though, when it's played at places like the Superdome and the Silverdome.
It's a good place to hover above.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Washington now taking over at its own 36-yard line. First quarter held to 63 yards, and then the 80-yard pass from Williams to Sanders. Sanders goes in motion on first down. Williams over the middle, finds the tight end. It's Don Warren, who's normally the blocking tight end. Doesn't catch that many passes. In fact, he caught only 7 during the regular season, and he's coming home. He's out of San Diego State.
And you know he desperately wanted to catch a ball here. I mean, this is the field where Donnie played college football, and that's the one he just had to get under his belt. At least he's got one. That's a full day's work for Don Warren. He doesn't figure into their passing scheme at all.
Clint Didier is more of the receiving tight end. Warren lines up, slot left now on second and a long yard. And bursting through the middle, Smith to the 35-yard line, stopped by Dennis Smith. No relation.
And that's what Don Warren does the best. He comes in motion and makes the trap. Key block.
That's exactly right. Good spot, Frank. Don Warren is off to the right side of our screen. He's going to come in here and make the trap. Let's take a look at this. Timmy Smith is going to set it up. There's Warren in motion. Comes in and makes the trap on Cragen. And Smith, alertly cutting behind him, is into the secondary.
19-yard pickup, first down, Washington at the 36. Smith again stopped at the 35-yard line. Bobby Beathard, the Washington GM, who really excels in those middle and low round draft choices, saw enough of Smith, even though Smith had torn his knee up as a junior, had fractured and dislocated his ankle as a senior. Bobby had seen enough to say he's worth a draft choice. And here he came in round 5. And there are his numbers. More yardage gained in postseason than in the regular season. He comes out in this set with Bryant in on second down and 9 from the 35. And it's Kelvin Bryant slipping to the outside. Tackled by Dennis Smith at the 29-yard line and Steve Wilson.
Both offensive linemen who were going to be in front of that play, R.C. Tillman and Mark May, both fell down, and Kelvin Bryant still picks up yardage. This is unbelievable. Both guys fall down who are supposed to be Bryant's lead blockers. Look at the right tackle, the right guard. Watch them both pull to get in front of Bryant, and both go to the turf. Slip, slip, down they go, and Kelvin Bryant still gets outside the defense. Not so good, guys in the orange jerseys.
Third down, short 2, long 1 from the 28. Williams for Clark. Touchdown.
Great protection for Doug Williams.
Collier, the defensive coordinator, took a chance, Frank, came with the blitz and ended up with man coverage.
Look at the protection. That, of course, will give you that man-for-man coverage. It's Steve Wilson. He wasn't close, and Doug Williams was right on the money, making sure that Wilson would not get into the play. Let him a little long. It was a diving catch, a good catch.
Ali Haji Sheik for the extra point. Redskins have the lead. Williams having the type of second quarter he had in Chicago 3 weeks ago.
The single coverage necessitated by the blitz, and a perfect spiral from Doug Williams to Clark. Wilson totally out of the play, and down 10-0. Washington comes storming back.
Second quarter, 10:15 left in the half in San Diego.
It'll be another week before that guy realizes the 49ers aren't even here.
Maybe longer than that. Steve Cox booming it.
Whoa.
And down in the end zone by Ken Bell. Broncos now come out to their own 20-yard line.
Interesting numbers on this man. Look at that. 3rd down and 1 for the season. They'd only passed twice before in that situation. And Joe Collier, the defensive coach of the Denver Broncos, knows that Gibbs likes to go against their own tendencies.
What did he tell us? We spent all week practicing against things we won't even see. And here against the blitz, Doug Williams in that exact same situation where they run all the time, goes to the air and gets a 27-yard touchdown.
Broncos trailing for the first time in the game at their own 20-yard line. Vance Johnson split left. And Elway on a little shovel. Winder, 30, 40, to the 45-yard line. Second time they've gotten a big gain off that play. The other time the shovel was to Sewell. Bowles makes the tackle.
And it went to the other side of the field where Dexter Manley was the unblocked guy. And this time they allowed Charles Mann and Monty Coleman both to come upfield unblocked.
They caught him on a blitz. It couldn't be better. Look at the bottom of your screen. 71 and 51. They're on the blitz. They come through. They think they got the great shot at Elway. They do that, but inside is a shovel pass, and the first down is out over the 45-yard line.
Talk about sacrificing your body. That's what John Elway did there.
1st and 10 with Mobley in motion. Inside give, Winder.
Ball's out.
Over the 50. No, they say it was down. Line judge coming right in to say no fumble. Jack Fetty making the call. Sammy Winder taking the ball into Washington territory, and we've got a call now from McElwee.
You be the judge. Here's Sammy Winder. Has the ball firmly in his possession at this point. Let's watch the knees. Now that's going to be a call that ruled down by the official, and there's no way replay is ever going to overturn that. Good call that time, I think, by Jack Fetty, the man on the spot.
And that's what McElwee said to the crowd. Second down. 3 from the 47. Elway has it tipped incomplete. Batted by Dave Butts, I believe. 3rd down.
All of a sudden, a little more pressure, however, on Elway. That time, Manley was close. Mann was close. And, of course, that's what Joe Gibbs was hoping for coming into this game, that his 2 men on the outside would be the dominant figures defensively against Elway on the pass rush and also the containing, to not let him out of that pocket.
On 3rd and 3, they go to 4 wide receivers with Bodie in the backfield alongside Elway. And even Bodie goes out. Manley can't make the sack. Elway has a lot of open field. And out of bounds at the 26-yard line.
On the move, nobody's better.
So elusive. He's big, 6'3", over 210. Manley is a very agile defensive end. Elway just glides a little bit to the left. Here he comes, almost offsides. Recovered, gets around. Well, actually, comes in freewheeling. Elway just slides to the outside. Manley, with the full afterburner turned on, and down the sideline he goes. He was looking downfield. There was a receiver there, but he could see he was going to get about 25 or 30 out of it.
But Frank, I mean, just keep in mind what we just saw. We saw a quarterback get away from an unblocked man and barely even nicked. And I mean, Dexter Manley's no slug. I mean, we're talking about an all-pro defensive end who had a clear shot and got absolutely nothing.
Elway, 1st and 10, gets it to Winder, and Dave Butts is right there. Dave Butts, a teammate of Dan Dierdorf's with the Cardinals in the early 70s. Contract problems, Washington picked him up. What a career, 14 years.
And it's just remarkable when you look at David and you see him in the locker room. You just would never believe that he's a man his age that's played 14 years in this league. He's lighter than he's been in years. He's actually right about the 300-pound mark. And Joe Gibbs told us that Dave Butts has had one of his best, if not his best year on the line of scrimmage. He's a remarkable athlete and some kind of special guy to perform at that level at this age.
2nd and 10 from the 26-yard line. Elway fires, and it's incomplete. Steve Sewell dropped it. Covered by Brian Davis and Clarence Vaughn.
And Studdard is holding his left leg. A man who has been tagged to handle Dexter Manley here for the Denver Broncos, and it is Dave Studdard who is down for the Broncos.
And this is big trouble for Denver if Dave Studdard can't continue. Let's look at the matchup, see if we can see where David gets hurt. This is Dave Studdard. This is Dexter Manley. These two go one-on-one. They've been doing it all game. Dexter taking the outside rush. They lock up right there, and let's see if we can follow what happens. And so far, it's an effective job by Studdard of riding Dexter by.
Oh, and I think when he planted it just before he went down, it just went out on its own. They were looking at the left knee.
Really difficult to see anything happening there. That's all it could have been from his own weight. A veteran up front and a guy who, so far this game, I think, has been playing superbly against Dexter Manley.
The Broncos, the offensive line to begin with, I don't want to say suspect, but they've had to do a lot of things with Bill Bryan hurt earlier in the year. They went to Mike Freeman, who was a replacement player. There was some question even as to the status of Stephon Humphreys, the guard coming in. He was banged up in practice the other day to the extent that they were thinking about activating Jim Juriga. And now, at least for the moment, they're going to lose Dave Studdard.
And I think the guy that's going to come in now will be Keith Karts, number 72.
So Karts, who grew up in this area, comes in. A guy who they discovered had cancer, and he went through some chemotherapy and radiation, and he's been able to resume his career at California and now here. A reminder, ABC's Wide World of Sports. Pazienza against Haugen is the fight from Atlantic City, the IBF World Lightweight Championship, Women's World Cup skiing from Yugoslavia.
Pronounce that town.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. 3rd and 10 from the 26-yard line. Elway stops and fires, and incomplete, threw it behind Vance Johnson. Green covering.
Design play all the way, getting Elway to the outside, and I think it's obvious by the look on John's face that he expected Vance Johnson to make a move away from John. Gave me the impression of a guy who thought that ball went exactly where he threw it. Vance Johnson wasn't where John Elway expected him to be, though.
Those receivers usually so reliable, sliding in. When John starts to move, they slide to the open spot.
Rich Karlis now. This will be a 43-yard attempt. Gary Kubiak, the backup quarterback to Elway, to hold.
Well, he hooked that one, didn't he?
Out of the stadium.
And a little tussle. Karlis, who missed a couple last year against New York.
Marcus Cook, one of the guys involved there, I think. But the fact of the matter is, the field goal was no good.
And so the Broncos drive bogs down. Karlis misses. And Washington has it now at the 26-yard line with 7:18 remaining in the first half. together 2 good drives against Chicago, 2 good drives against Minnesota, and that was good enough from the 26-yard line. Williams throws over the middle, wide open. Clark. And Wilson makes the tackle out at the 41-yard line. 16-yard pickup.
You know, Doug Williams is not a high percentage passer normally. He's normally below 50%, and this time working across the middle. Look at him survey the entire field, starting at his right and coming back, and Gary Clark just wide open on the play. But some kind of afternoon so far for Doug Williams. His passing numbers are excellent. We're going to take a look at him after this play, because I want to tell you something about some drops. If you plug in there, what kind of percentage he's got.
He's thrown for 210 yards, and Smith wide open. 40, 30, inside the 20. Timmy Smith going down the sideline. Timmy Smith is in there.
Same old play that the Redskins run over and over. They call it counter gap, and here they go with that play, and Timmy Smith gets touchdown number 1.
Clint Didier with the block that springs Timmy Smith. We asked Timmy Smith about his speed. Said, I used to be 4'4", then the surgery twice. Now I'm about 4'6". Watch Didier, top of your screen.
There go the 2 linemen.
There he is, cleans it out.
Mackenzie Jacoby up through the hole, and Timmy Smith just outran Tony Lilly, who had the angle, but just too slow to take advantage.
What are you saying, about 4'6" now? He was about 4'4" there.
The kick was good by Haji Sheik. Timmy Smith, 58 yards out of Texas Tech, and this has the makings of the Super Bowl we've been waiting 22 years for.
Interesting at the draft as we look again. Watch number 86 right behind the quarterback, Williams. Gets the key block coming around the corner. It's McKenzie. And down went Dennis Smith, and here comes Timmy Smith. He was telling us about when he was drafted. He went to sleep during the draft, and they woke him up and said you were taken by the Washington Redskins in the 5th round. And he said, why by the Redskins? They have George Rogers, they have Kelvin Bryant, and here's the race against Tony Lilly. And this is just enough for Timmy Smith to get it into the end zone.
And if you're a coach like Dan Reeves, you expect your free safety to be able to overtake a running back the size of Timmy Smith. That time, Timmy Smith showing a little more speed than people thought, and Tony Lilly showing a little less than he needed.
What a great story this young man is.
Here's a guy who has gained more, as we've stated, in postseason than all of the regular season. If Reggie Jackson is Mr. October, Smith is Mr. January.
126 yards during the regular season. Now he's really adding him on. He had 138 coming in.
Cox to kick off. 21-10. Washington on top. One hopper. Bell on the run from the 4. And Kenny Bell gets cracked down at the 21-yard line, and you heard Clarence Vaughn make the tackle. And Hamill gets into it, along with Kay.
Well, Hamill, one of the guys in there putting the shots on things. Boy, you could hear that crack, you know, clearly up here in the booth.
One of the things that we have never been really able to capture in television, that is, you know, Dan, how it sounds down there. It sounds like bombs going off all the time. You really heard that one.
Super Bowl record, most points in a quarter. 49ers, Chicago, and now Washington.
We still have over 6 minutes left in this quarter.
All done in the 80s. Washington on top by 11. So Denver now from the 21-yard line. Lang takes it out to the 24-yard line. Denver coming out as if they were going to blow Washington out of here, with Elway connecting with Natil. And then the field goal to make it 10-0. And then the near turnover at the 15. That's Pat Bolin in the shadows there, the owner of the Denver Broncos.
Why has Denver gone out of the shotgun on first down? They had so much success with it on their first couple of drives. On first down, they went back to normal. Now they're getting back in it here on second down. But if I was these guys, I'd run that on first down as well.
Second down and 8. And Elway going deep. for Vance Johnson, not even close. And Manley and Elway go down together. Wilburn and Bowles covered on the play. Vance Johnson, subject of much conjecture prior to the game. The ruptured artery sustained against Houston on the hit by Grimsley. Then he missed the championship game against Cleveland. And frankly, the Broncos telling us as late as yesterday, Vance running at about 80%. Elway came out blazing. And now ice cold. 2 for his last 11. 3rd and 8. Shotgun from the 23.
Here comes a blitz.
And he fires it to the near side. It's caught at the 31-yard line. It's Steve Sewell, but he appears to be short of the first down. He has to get to the 32-yard line.
And that is a mistake of sorts by Sewell. If he didn't get to the marker, there's no use in running that pattern if you don't get to the marker and pick up a first down. I mean, a good effort and everything else, Frank, but hey, you got to have the necessary yardage for a first down.
And unusual for Steve Sewell. Good receiver. He knew where he had to go. Elway under pressure from that blitz. And defensive Sewell had to lead him back to the sidelines. He had to release it before he wanted to, and under the pressure of that blitz.
Now, I will say this in Sewell's defense. When you looked at it from the end zone, when you saw that ball in the way that it was tailing away, he may not have had much choice. That may not have been the best of throws that time by John Elway.
Agreed. Mike Horan to punt. High wobbly kick. Darrell Green won't have a chance to run it back. And it's a short kick that winds up going out of bounds at the 40-yard line. 29-yard kick by Horan. 4:34 remaining in the half.
And this thing is seesawed back and forth as we look at the almost near full moon. But what Denver desperately needs now is a show by their defense.
Yeah, isn't it funny? We're in the position of saying exactly the same thing about Denver defensively that we were saying about Washington defensively in the first quarter. They're back on their heels and they're in disarray, and you're right, Frank, they need to make a stand.
Washington 1st and 10 from the 39-yard line. Williams too high for Sanders, nearly picked off by Haynes. 2nd down.
Well, it's been a while since Doug Williams has thrown an incomplete pass. That one just got away from him a little bit, a little high intended for Ricky Sanders. And Mark Haynes, if he could have laid out for that ball, might have had a real chance at it. And, you know, I've seen better efforts to make an interception than that one right there. That was, Mark Haynes isn't going to appreciate that, but that was a pretty weak effort on Mark Haynes' part, rather.
Bryant in the game, 2nd down and 10. Over the middle, Sanders. And he has a first down as he wriggles his way across the 50-yard line. Ryan and Smith in on the tackle, and the clock keeps ticking with 4:15 to play in the first half.
Good move by Sanders. He knew exactly where he was. He looked to the right. He thought he might try to get big yardage out of it, knew that he couldn't, and he dived for the first down right at midfield.
Different series here if Mark Haynes comes up with that interception.
1st and 10. Fake to Smith. Williams deep for Sanders again. Makes the catch at the 10. Touchdown.
Oh. Tony Lilly, the free safety, his not being one of the faster free safeties in the game is really starting to rear its ugly head here for Denver.
Denver missing an injured Mike Harden, now with a broken arm in the championship game, the playoff game against Houston. And Lilly's in there. He does not have the speed. We saw that a little bit earlier. And watch Ricky Sanders. Straight down the field, not even a move. He just turned on the speed. Lilly trying to fly with him, no chance. He was beaten 3 or 4 yards. And Williams again, just absolutely perfect on target.
You see all the misdirection up at the line of scrimmage. Froze everybody defensively for Denver.
Haji Sheik for the extra point. Super Bowl record, most points in a quarter. 28 now for Washington. And still 3:42 to play in the half. 50 yards for Sanders. who has now caught 2 touchdowns, 149 yards receiving for Sanders.
It's just motion. Watch Sanders come all the way across the formation, down and then up, and then it's just a foot race. But watch guards pull, backs fake. The whole thing in the middle is what freezes everything for Denver defensively. Watch the motion up front.
But Dan, Lilly was locked up with him, and he should have seen him all the way. He did get caught in there. He was looking, staring into the backfield, and should have not been trapped by that movement back there. Got a late start, and it was all over as Ricky Sanders just outraced him.
All year long, we've seen motion confuse people, and that time, again, motion by Washington, maybe more than any other team, worked to their benefit.
Well, it's a Quinella that Denver's not proud of, but Cleveland scored on 4 consecutive possessions 2 weeks ago in the championship game in the second half. And the Skins have now scored on 4 consecutive possessions, and Cleveland, were it not for the Biner fumble, would have scored on 5 in a row, or 5 out of 6 anyway at that point.
Yeah, if you took the second half of their game last week and put it with the first 2 weeks ago, rather, and put it with the first half of this game, you don't have much of an effort by the Bronco defense.
So it's 28-10, a game that looked like it might be a Denver rout about an hour ago. Is now an 18-point Washington advantage. And Bell downs it in the end zone. So the Broncos take over at their own 20 with 3:37 left in the half. And the Broncos, remember, used the timeout early on when they led 10-0, so they have 2 remaining in the half.
Big order for the Denver Broncos and John Elway, and one of the key factors is that Dave Studdard stays out of the ball game, and perhaps the best pass rusher for the Redskins, Dexter Manley, is now teamed up against Keith Karts, the first-year man over the left side out of California. And there is Dave Studdard with the sprained knee, and he is very doubtful, as you can see. But Manley, you know, is going to be licking his chops out there.
And I think a good look there. Here's Sammy Winder
on a draw, and he has the first down and pays the price as he gets it out to the 33-yard line. Hit by Todd Bowles.
And a good call against Manley, who had his ears laid back, was coming on the pass rush. You come with the draw, and you get an easy block by Karts to turn him to the outside and get big yardage.
Gain of 13 yards. Denver first down on the 33.
First down, Denver now at the 33. Winder, steady would be the adjective for him. In the way his career has gone. Not spectacular, just steady. Here he is again, steadily churning forward for about 6 to the 40-yard line, stopped by Kaufman and Walden. Winder out of Southern Mississippi, a guy who has never averaged 4 yards a carry through his career, and that's quite unusual for a man normally considered to be your featured running back.
Like I said earlier, that's not because he was averaging 5 or 6 yards a carry either. His career's been spent down in the 3s, but hey, he's still productive.
2nd and 4, and Elway going for Natil, covered by Wilburn, and picked off at the 21-yard line.
Barry Wilburn bitterly disappointed that he didn't make the Pro Bowl for the NFC, even though he led the conference with 9 interceptions. That time plays it beautifully, and frankly, that's just the pass that John Elway should have never let go. Ricky Natil wasn't open at all, Frank.
And it was man for man. The Redskins play it about 80% of the time. And great position by Wilburn. Went up, battled for it. Natil could have maybe given it a little bit of an effort, but it was perfect position by Wilburn.
From a cornerback standpoint, you just can't play it any better than that. Perfect positioning.
You can't underthrow that ball when your receiver is being that well covered either.
And for Wilburn, he very much mirrors what's happened to Washington in the second quarter vis-a-vis the first. First period, first Denver play, he gets burned by Natil. Then he comes back, and with the interception here, gives them the ball back with 2:14 to play in the half. And they're taking a look now.
They might be trying to figure out if he had his feet in bounds.
Yep, in or out of bounds. That could be the reason for the conference, and obviously the replay booth is looking at it.
Well, this is the angle to tell from the end zone. Barry Wilburn going up for the ball. Left foot. Down. right foot down. The question is whether the toe was on the line. And I don't know, with the official right on the spot, how you could be in any better positioning than we saw right there by the line judge, Al Jury, the back judge. I don't know how we could.
Further review by the replay official. The play stands as called. First down.
Has to be indisputable evidence to overturn the official on the spot. And it's really too tough to call. But look at the positioning by the official. I mean, that's absolutely perfect.
So Washington at the 21-yard line. They've scored on their last 4 consecutive possessions. They have all of their timeouts. And they start from the 21-yard line. Smith for a yard. And that will take us to the 2-minute warning.